worked for the most incompetent president in history, so I guess she has a reason to be, but being will not sell you books, Jesse.
Is Peter Doocy one of those good reporters? Are you sure?
Look, Peter's a good guy. We have our tussles with Peter too. No mistakes there.
All right. Thank you so much.
And it's a stark contrast to what they had over the past 4 years, where they were gaslit, where they were told Joe Biden was mentally stable and up for the job. That was a lie. Where they were told the administration was doing everything it could to secure the border. Also a lie. I'm very proud to work for the greatest president in history.
Karoline Leavitt has once again taken direct aim at former White House press secretary Karine Jean-Pierre as their ongoing media feud continues to escalate. This latest exchange began when Karine Jean-Pierre took offense to a joke Leavitt made about former President Barack Obama. But instead of backing down, Karoline came out swinging. Her response wasn't just a comeback. It was a calculated verbal takedown that left a lasting impression across political circles. What started as a simple quip has now evolved into a fiery war of words between two women who clearly have no interest in walking away quietly. Let's dive into what went down.
Work is the same person who had your job about a year ago. We call her Binder. KJP, Karine Jean-Pierre. You, I guess, had made a joke about, it was like your mama joke, and she didn't like that. This is what she said. Roll it.
It's deplorable. And I'm using that word on purpose.
Yeah.
Because they don't seem to understand, this is the Trump White House, that they don't work for just one man.
Yeah.
They work for the American people. The White House press secretary is not about doing online trolling.
Right.
It is not. It is an honor and a privilege to have that job.
It all started when Karoline Leavitt joked about her predecessor, quipping, "Someone who can't find work is the same person who had your job about a year ago. We call her Binder." The remark, aimed squarely at Karine Jean-Pierre, drew laughter from her audience, but fury from KJP, who fired back by calling the joke deplorable. "It's deplorable," she said pointedly, emphasizing the word. "They don't seem to understand. This is the Trump White House. They don't work for just one man. They work for the American people. The White House press secretary's role isn't about online trolling. It's an honor and a privilege to have that job." Jean-Pierre's tone was sharp, framing Leavitt's comments as unprofessional and unbecoming of a press secretary.
Deplorable. And you say?
Well, with all due respect to my predecessor, she is one of the main of the greatest cover-up and scandal in American history. She took the podium every day and lied to the press about the incompetence of her boss. And on this book tour, she continues to lie. She said this past week that Joe Biden would still be up for the job if he had, God forbid, been reelected in November. She actually said this week as well on a podcast that Joe Biden did more press engagements than President Trump currently does now. Any person across the aisle can tell you that is a bald-faced lie.
Karine Jean-Pierre's statement was meant to portray Leavitt as immature and unfit for her role, accusing her of wasting time on social media jabs instead of serving the public. She painted Karoline as a partisan provocateur rather than a serious communicator. But Leavitt wasn't about to let that slide. True to her fiery personality, she struck back with a response that completely flipped the script. Karoline didn't just defend herself, she went on the offensive, challenging KJP's credibility and calling out what she described as years of deception and cover-ups under the Biden administration. What followed was a bold, unapologetic rebuttal that reignited their feud and made it clear that Leavitt had no intention of backing down.
When you talk to the real journalists, not the ones who are actually activists that pose as journalists, but the people who actually care about truth, and there are some of those left in the White House press corps, I work with them every day, they will tell you the Trump White House is the most accessible and transparent White House ever. Not only does the president take questions from the press on a near daily basis, multiple times per day, as he did today, but we also provide truthful and accurate information about what this administration is doing.
In her blistering response, Karoline Leavitt directly accused Karine Jean-Pierre of participating in what she called the largest cover-up in American history. She alleged that KJP played a key role in concealing the truth about President Joe Biden's declining mental health during the latter part of his presidency. Karoline pointed out that while the truth is now more widely recognized, Jean-Pierre continues to defend the narrative that Biden was perfectly capable and in full control, a claim that's increasingly difficult to accept given the evidence. Leavitt went further, suggesting that even Biden's late-term decisions, including certain last-minute pardons, raise questions about who was truly in charge. According to her, Jean-Pierre isn't protecting the truth. She's protecting the illusion, and Americans are finally beginning to see through it. But Karoline wasn't done yet.
Contrast to what they had over the past 4 years, where they were gaslit, where they were told Joe Biden was mentally stable and up for the job. That was a lie. Where they were told the administration was doing everything it could to secure the border. Also a lie. I'm very proud to work for the greatest president in history.
Rather than taking offense at being called an online troll, Karoline Leavitt turned the insult into ammunition. She contrasted her approach to transparency with what she described as the secrecy and scripted nature of Karine Jean-Pierre's time at the podium. Karoline highlighted that under her leadership, the White House press briefings have become more open and accessible, with reporters able to ask genuine, unscripted questions and get straightforward answers. She praised former President Trump for setting that tone by directly engaging with the press, facing tough questions without fear or filters, something she argued was impossible during the Biden years. In Karoline's words, the difference is night and day. We have a press corps that's no longer shut out, a president who actually communicates, and a press secretary who doesn't hide behind excuses. Her rebuttal was sharp, confident, and impossible to ignore, a full display of her communication prowess.
Worked for the most incompetent president in history, so I guess she has a reason to be bitter, but being bitter will not sell you books, Jesse.
Is Peter Doocy one of those good reporters? Are you sure?
Look, Peter's a good guy. We have our tussles with Peter, too. No mistakes there.
All right. Thank you so much.
Karoline's broader argument touched on what she views as years of dishonesty from the Biden administration. She recalled how both Joe Biden and Kamala Harris repeatedly assured Americans that the southern border was secure, claims that have since been thoroughly debunked. In reality, millions of illegal crossings took place, exposing just how misleading those assurances were. She also brought up the Hunter Biden laptop scandal, which was long dismissed and censored under the guise of Russian disinformation before the truth eventually came out. According to Leavitt, these examples prove a pattern of deception. So when she calls out Karine Jean-Pierre and the administration for lying to the American people, she argues she's not exaggerating, she's simply holding them accountable for what she sees as years of manipulation, denial, and narrative control.
She calls herself an independent. Why? She's very mad at the Democrat Party for not backing Joe Biden all the way through to the presidential election. What a farce. She was part of the cover-up. She knows damn well he couldn't have done it. She was part of the reason that they had to scramble to replace him in, June, July of 2024. But the lying as she's promoting this book about how she had no idea, she didn't see him on the plane ride over to the debate, so she just wasn't near him, as if it was just a one-night thing and she just missed it in the lead up. And then secondly, she's getting guff from Democrats for being such a turncoat. And the subtitle of the book is, it's independent, that insiders look at the White House. So people are giving her a hard time, like, you're such a turncoat, the Democrat Party made you, the only reason people know your name is because of this party you're ripping on. Why would you betray, like the Bidens too, by giving an insider's account of the White House? And she actually is peddling the lie.
Leavitt didn't hold back personally either. She accused Karine Jean-Pierre of bitterness, claiming that her frustration stems from being part of what Leavitt called one of the most incompetent administrations in U.S. history. That jab struck a nerve, and it was meant to. Karoline also hinted that Jean-Pierre's hostility may be rooted in envy, pointing out that she's thriving in her current role, earning widespread praise for her confidence, clarity, and command of the media. The contrast between the two press secretaries couldn't be more striking. Karoline suggested that it must sting for Jean-Pierre to watch her successor excel where she once struggled. Whatever the cause, Leavitt made one thing clear. This feud is deeply personal now, and she has no plans to stand down. But Karoline wasn't the only one weighing in. Megyn Kelly had plenty to say too.
That's jealous that Trump's building this big, beautiful ballroom?
It certainly appears that way, Jesse, and I believe there's a lot of fake outrage right now because nearly every single president who has lived in this beautiful White House behind me has made modernizations and renovations of their own. And in fact, presidents for decades in the modern time have quipped about how they wish they had a larger event space here at the White House that can hold hundreds more people than the current East Room and state dining rooms can. In fact, President Obama notably complained that during his tenure, he had to hold a state visit on the South Lawn and get a very expensive tent.
Megyn Kelly joined the fray with her own harsh critique of Karine Jean-Pierre, calling her a turncoat. According to Kelly, KJP has shown zero loyalty or gratitude to the Democratic Party that elevated her to national prominence. Before her appointment as White House press secretary, Jean-Pierre was virtually unknown outside of Washington circles. Yet, the party gave her one of the most visible positions in the country and defended her despite numerous communication missteps and public embarrassments. Kelly accused KJP of betraying that trust, resigning, and then spilling insider details about life inside the Biden White House, not as an act of courage, but as a self-serving publicity move. In Kelly's view, Jean-Pierre has become someone who bites the very hand that fed her, turning political failure into personal fame. To her, that's not integrity, it's opportunism. And in a media landscape where credibility is everything, that's a charge that cuts deep.
Journalists who have covered the White House for decades, as I do here every single day, they will also tell you that administration after administration have publicly and privately spoken about the need for a larger event space. So while many presidents have privately dreamt about this, it's President Trump who is actually doing something about it. And he is the builder in chief. In large part, he was reelected back to this people's house because he's good at building things.